The Summit Tournament Series has become a cornerstone of the Melee community, popularizing concepts like the Summit Level Up and producing a week full of high-quality Melee end content. The New England Melee scene recognized this potential to pull together a Summit-like event of their own to shine the spotlight on their often overlooked community with a ton of talented players through the New England circuit that will culminate this weekend at the New England Invitational. Like Summit, some players were given automatic invites to the event and others had to fight their way in through voting. The auto invites were the top overall performers from each New England state, the top 3 from the Invitational Tournament Series after those 6 players, and the Icy's main who goes by OK or Pretty Good, who won the most recent New England Arcadian. The voting process was run exactly the same as the Summit method, but a large portion of the compendium goals are going towards sending some of New England's best, like Slox, Calvar, and Lint, out to major events across the country so they can show off just how good their region is. But just focusing on the very top of each region won't let us catch some of these rising stars that are soon to be sneaking on to upset threads at majors, especially at Shine next weekend on their home turf. So I reached out to a couple of New England's finest that are going to be competing at the Invitational this weekend to get their thoughts on the event and the region as a whole. Let's start by talking about a name you might know, Calvar. The Marth main from New Hampshire was ranked 79th on this year's Top 100 ranking and sits as 4th best on New England's latest PR. Calvar says that his greater use of reaction tech chases and hack stashes is what sets his Marth away from the handful of others in the top 100. He feels pretty good about his prospects for winning the Invitational, as he's beaten all the other top talent at the event before, being 2-4 against Slox for the year and 3-2 against Lint according to their locals dataset. When speaking about the scene, Calvar highlighted how they have an event pretty much every day such as Bar or Smashing Grounds, which really shows just how dedicated these players are to improving at the game. Let's continue talking about Marth by jumping over the top player Yasu, who is one of the many Massachusetts residents who are going to be at the Invitational and who currently stands as the 14th best player in New England. He thinks what sets his particular Marth playstyle apart is that he's more read-based than most, which to his own admission can cause a high variance in his skill level. To quote Yasu himself, "I'm bad at sticking to flowcharts and game plans, and I typically make a lot of neutral decisions based off reads." He continues, "If you watch me in neutral and in scramble situations, you'd probably think I'm a crazy person sometimes." Yasu even explicitly said that he doesn't think this is the right way to play Marth, but he doesn't have fun playing this way with any other character, which is something I find absolutely incredible. This kind of charm and uniqueness isn't something that is exclusive to Yasu. New England is overflowing with this incredible energy that I think comes as a side effect of having so many events each month to hang out at, which has made these players into a family, a sentiment that was expressed by many of the players I talked to. But circling back to Yasu for closing remarks, they're looking to break the rut they've been in lately at the Invitational and show off that he's not falling behind all these other incredibly talented players that keep appearing out of nowhere in New England. Another aspect that sets New England apart from other regions in the world is the fact that they are one of the very few that have a talented Pikachu in their midst in the form of Bonk Cushy. About a year ago, I talked about his come up in the scene alongside some other Pikachu mains, so click the card in the top right if you want to hear how he made it to this point. But speaking in the here and now, Bonk serves as a sort of gatekeeper in Massachusetts, because players have to learn an entirely new matchup just to beat him, which Bonk has said helps his neutral game a lot, as it forces him to continue to try new options to keep players on their toes. The Habsrat has his focus more on improving for the future, especially for Shine next week, than putting on a standout performance at the Invitational itself, but the two kind of come hand in hand. He's also excited for the event because he thinks between the commentators, the aggressive playstyles of many of the attendees, and how close in skill level many of the players are, New England is going to put on a hell of a show this weekend. Let's jump back over to New Hampshire to talk about J-Naught, who is a Sheik main with a Fox secondary that has been playing on and off since the summer of 2015 when he started attending the University of Rhode Island. His secondary Fox is actually only a recent development of his, for particular matchups like Sheik, Puff, and potentially Ices in the future, and for when Spacey's mains, which there will be many of at the Invitational, bring him to FD or Stadium. J-Naught describes himself as being very punish game oriented, which is something that has only been improving more and more recently as he's been cleaning up his tech chases. But he's not solely a cookie cutter Sheik, as he likes to work in more flashier options like Dare, Tech Chases, or the Dynasty combo to add the signature NEM flair. As for J-Naught's goals for this weekend, he's looking to win the event by almost exclusively sticking to Sheik, as his recent practice against Joy Boy has immensely improved his confidence in the Fox matchup, but he also realizes how difficult winning is going to be with how many heavy hitters there are. At the very least, J-Naught is looking for sure to outplace OK, who he finished right behind at second at the Arcadian. And one of these many heavy hitters at the event is Connecticut's own Tiramisu, who's looking forward to getting to play against some of the newer talent at the event that he's rarely gotten to play against, like Coach and Stus. But even more than that, he's looking to get another shot at Calvar. The two have been playing each other for quite a long time, with Tiramisu having climbed his all-time record against him all the way back up to 27-28, despite getting farmed against him for the first 6 months of their rivalry. Tiramisu describes it as a push and a pull, where he'll go on a winning streak against the Marth like he did by going 11-4 in the first 3 months of 2019, but then Calvar will come back with some strong adaptations like he has done, being up 4-3 in Tiramisu in the 3 months since. So needless to say, be on the lookout for Tiramisu to potentially set the record to 28 sets apiece at the Invitational this weekend. One of the players that I was told to look out the most for by other NEM players was Project, who only started playing competitively 2 years ago thanks to one of his friends from high school, Cess, who is also a top New England player himself. Coming up in a scene full to the brim of talented Fox players, Project says that a lot of his inspiration comes from the big names like Slox, Joyboy, and Squibble, but what he thinks makes himself unique as he's one of the few who can seamlessly combine and transition between styles, resulting in a playstyle that equally balances between offense, defense, neutral, and punish game. On a very basic level, he's looking to shake the idea that he's one of the weakest players in the top echelon of the region by picking up some quality wins this weekend that may jump Project onto his first ever New England PR. But bigger than that, and very indicative of how smart of a player Project is, they said, and I quote, "My main goal is to understand the mental state of players and how they prep, and possibly apply that to myself." He continued, "I feel as though my gameplay is fine, and the style I choose to play is good, but what I want to improve is getting to a state where I can play fine." Just from that quote alone, I've got a really good feeling that Project is destined to do great things in Melee. And wrapping off the list of players I want to highlight is the Arcadian winner himself, OK, who isn't your traditional Ice Climbers main. When he first got into the game, he spent at least 8 hours a day grinding away at tech on a handful of different characters without really landing on one as a main. But it all changed once he stumbled upon a Wobbles combo video, and since then he's been convinced that Ices is the sickest character in the game, an argument that is best supported by watching him play. OK went on to taking out 3 PR'd players at one of his first locals because of how taken aback people were by such a technical and aggressive Ices. He's dialed down the aggressiveness since then because, in his words, "I realized that safely aggressive Ices are genuinely optimal in most matchups, since my risk reward is almost always better than my opponent's off any opening." As for the Invitational in particular, I asked him about how he thinks being the only Ices at the event will affect his performance, and also how he feels about potentially having to face off against Stacy's stepdad's Peach. In regards to being the only Ices, he said, and I quote, "But yeah, I'm usually the only Ices at tournaments, and it always helps. You're pretty much always at the disadvantage if you're playing against the Ice Climbers, unless you play Marth, and I like when my opponent's at a disadvantage." And as for the dreaded Peach versus Ices matchup, OK only believes that the matchup is a 65-35 on a bad day, but he thinks that he should be able to pull it out. And that about does it for this video. I want to give a huge thanks to all the players I got to speak to for this video, even the ones that I weren't able to include. If you haven't already put it together yourself throughout this video, the New England scene is full of some incredible people, and if you ever get a chance to travel up to Shine or any other event in region, you totally should. If you want to support New England Melee, tune in to the Invitational this weekend. More information about the stream schedule and the event itself can be found in the description. And that about does it for me. I've been SaveAsUntitled, and I'll see you guys next time.